Today's main topic is scales to use over blues, and this is kind of a funky style with our backing track today. So I've got three big takeaways from this. Number one is minor pentatonic. It's the go-to scale for most people when you play blues, and rightly so. That sound of a scale with a minor third over a chord that has a major third in it has a rub that is very bluesy. You can even do that in folk music where there's a major chord and you play a minor pentatonic over it, and you get that bluesy sound over folk music, right? It's a very interesting tension that's pleasing to us. That sound is great, but it's not the only sound, and you get stuck in that. You get used to playing it. You think that's it, and you just go through the motions, and you're doing something that works. Well, just because something works doesn't mean it's the moving forward, or it's the best decision that you can make. Maybe this song deserves a little bit more. Maybe there's some other sounds that you could use. There's plenty of other sounds that you can use over blues that you hear every day. It doesn't really cover some of the important chord tones. That's another part of this. So you've got your root, third, fifth, and seventh. Those are your seventh chord, and these we're doing dominant seventh chords. So these are your third and your flat sevens. May or may not be in there. If it's minor pentatonic, you've got the minor third, which is not the third of the chord, and you've got your flat seventh. That one's there. But in major pentatonic, you don't have that flat seventh, right? So each one of those is missing one of the kind of defining notes of the chord that you're playing over. And those defining notes are your strong notes. When you know the notes of the chords, then your scales start to lock in. They're in the scales, and you have some weak notes and some strong notes, and every time the chord changes, your weak notes and strong notes change. So knowing a little bit about what your chords, the notes in your chords, is very important. The other thing about the minor pentatonic is it limits your phrasing options. To play anything a little bit more melodic feels very strange, especially on a one chord vamp. It doesn't respond well to that chord, which kind of goes along with not having a whole lot of, the important chord tones in there too. But there are some other scales that have more notes in them, which give you more opportunity for melody. And it's still, even though it's rock or blues, it's still melody. I've got some scale patterns up here at the 12th fret. They all sit in the same place, so you'll see the difference between them. We start off a minor pentatonic. That's pattern 3. Up top, that's 13 to 15 on the bottom, 3 strings, 12 to 15 on the G string, 13 to 16 on the B string, and then 13 to 15 on the high string. And this one is in the key of C today. So we're used to that. That's the sound. But now let's take a look at our major pentatonic. What does that sound like to you? To me, it's got a sweetness to it. It's got a little bit of a soulful sound to it. And it sounds consonant. It sounds like the chord, right? It's pretty much perfect over these chords that we're playing. Every note seems to complement it pretty well. It's still pentatonic. It's still missing some things, but the notes that it does have feel uplifting. They feel melodic. And this is the first step. If I was going to start learning this stuff, and I have a lot of people doing it with me, right? The very first part I would do is start to learn the difference between minor and major pentatonic and how to go back and forth between them. There's minor. You can hear every measure I was switching between the major and the minor pentatonic. Makes a very interesting sound. So in the way that major pentatonic sounded very nice. It matched the chord very well. It didn't have that kind of rub that the minor pentatonic had, but I said it's missing some things. Well, we do have a scale, a full scale that matches all of those notes. That's called the mixolydian mode. It's a major scale, but on the 7th degree of the scale, it's flat. That's major, but we're going to turn that B into a B flat. There's that B flat. This sound matches perfectly with the dominant 7th chord. The dominant 7th chord has C, E, G, and B flat. And this is C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C. All of those notes from the chord are in this scale. And it is a happy kind of scale. It pretty much follows the major scale all the way around until you get to that flat 7th. That flat 7th sounds like movement to me. It doesn't want to sit still. Dominant chords want to go somewhere. But what this is going to allow you to do is to get a lot more melody out of your chords. You'll be able to go along with the harmony and outline them a little bit closer to what the chord is instead of always competing against it with a minor pentatonic sound. This is going to give you all the strong notes and weak notes that make up a great melody. It's going to balance different styles of music too. Funk and blues and folk music and country. You can go back and forth between these using some of these notes. Another one is the blues scale. And we'll start with the minor blues scale first. You put in a note between the 4th and the 5th, and it has that kind of cool sound. So here we have in the diagram the C minor blues scale. And we're up here at the 12th fret. So we start on 13, 14, 15. We start off with the blue note. If you see that on the page, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that I put those notes in blue. So here's another one. So we're going between the F to the F sharp. There's the minor blues note, which is a flat 5, and then G, flat 7 root. Root, minor 3rd, 4th, flat 5 or sharp 4 to the 5th, flat 7 to root. And then we have another one up on top. Root, flat 3, 4th, flat 5, 5. So what's the difference between these? The difference between the minor pentatonic and the minor blues, that one note, but it puts something in there that you don't have in the minor pentatonic, and that is real tension, an outside sound. We have that minor 3rd to major 3rd, which is a common sound, and it's a pleasing sound. But in the minor blues, this flat 5 is very, very strange. It's a strange note. There it is, right? Very strange. But what it wants to do is it wants to resolve to something very, very strong. And in fact, it's a half step away from the 5th. And it's a half a step away from the 4th as well, too. So you can resolve this going up and it sounds one way. You can resolve it going down and it sounds another way. Another scale that we're going to be using in the lesson today is the major blues. So here up at the 12th fret, so here's major pentatonic and major blues. How would you describe the difference between those two scales? And there's a big difference, right? The first one is kind of open and airy and happy. And this one is kind of, I don't know what the word is. It kind of pulls you forward a little bit. It throws in a note this time in between the 2nd and the major 3rd. So it throws in the flat 3. That's the minor 3rd, right? So That's a note from the minor pentatonic scale. It's throwing that in there. It likes to resolve either up or down 2. If it goes down, it's going to go flat 3 to 2 to root. If it goes up, it's flat 3 to major third. See, they sound different between which one's resolving and which direction it's resolving. It has a whole different sound. I use them for different reasons there too. These other sounds are different than minor pentatonic, but they don't take away from it. They give you some other sounds. I think of it as colors on a painter's palette, right? When you know how to use them, your playing's going to sound like music. It's not going to sound like a scale. So how do you start using these scales? You don't need to learn everything. You just start to know what your options are. You need to see them. Learn them one pattern at a time. I just showed one pattern. We have these scales, these 5 scales, all over the fretboard. I just showed the ones at the 12th fret here in the key of C. But you learn one pattern at a time. Make a lick with it. One musical idea. It might be like a little bend. It might be a little phrase or something like that. But a little melodic phrase for each scale that you're playing. And before we wrap up, just a quick reminder, I don't take sponsors on the show. I am my own advertiser. That means everything you hear here is supported by the courses and the resources that I create for you. And the best starting point, Blues Solo Breakthrough. It's my free 6-part email course. It's designed to take the mystery out of soloing and help you start sounding like the player you've always wanted to be. Grab it free right now at playguitaracademy.com/Blues Solo Breakthrough.